Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand. May I request all of you to remain standing for the national anthem. Please be seated. We begin the evening with the felicitation. May I request Mr. Adi Godrej, President CII, to kindly felicitate the President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, with a shawl. May I request Mr. Adi Godrej to give the welcome address, please.
Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee, President of India, Mr. Ajay Sriram, Vice President CII, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General CII, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a privilege for me to welcome Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee, President of India, to this felicitation program. CII is deeply privileged, sir, that you have accepted our invitation despite other demands on your time. This reiterates the immense goodwill and support that you have always extended to Indian industry and to CII. I take this opportunity to congratulate you on behalf of all of us present here today on assumption of the office of President of India. It is indeed a fitting extension of your outstanding and distinguished career in public service. The country is proud to have an erudite and intellectual person of your stature as head of state, a person who can effectively guide and mentor the nation, a person who can continue to contribute to the nation in this office as you have always done over the years. Sir, above all qualities, the one that has appealed to us is your ability to connect with people across the country and across social strata. Therefore, it is no wonder that we have people from every state in the country present here today. From Jammu and Kashmir in the north, to Kerala in the south, from Maharashtra and Gujarat in the west, to West Bengal and Orissa in the east, from the states of the northeast, including Arunachal, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Mizoram, Tripura, Sikkim, and of course, Assam. This is a unique gathering at a CII function. That is only because you are being felicitated. That is because you have connected with the people of every part of this country. This is one quality which makes you very special among the people of this country, including us in industry. Sir, we have had the good fortune to work with you during your varied roles in India's governance structure. We have always been deeply impressed by your willingness to listen to all points of view and to accommodate diverse perspectives while formulating policies for inclusive growth and development. In particular, you have always been sympathetic to the perspectives of Indian industry, and through your painstaking efforts, you have crafted the environment for facilitating business. Your command of diverse areas of interest of the national discourse set a new level of engagement in government echelons. In your capacity as Cabinet Minister of Commerce, shortly after the reforms were initiated, you could configure national policies in a manner that would both protect and promote Indian industry amid a period of rapidly increasing globalization. As Minister of External Affairs, you put the interests of Indian industry at the heart of international negotiations, enabling the most ambitious ventures that we have taken overseas. Your support and encouragement has been a constant pole star in our endeavors, and we take this opportunity to reiterate our gratitude and appreciation to you. It is a matter of national priority to return to this high trajectory within a short time so as to attain the national goal of inclusive growth. Sir, CII has involved a national vision of India at 75 that envisages our country as a powerhouse for the world and an ethical and technological leader by 2022. The vision has been developed through multiple stakeholder consultations and dialogue with a cross-section of society. CII believes that equality of opportunities, individual rights, and implementation will be critical for India to achieve its aspirations. India can actively shape the world order through economic strength, technological vitality, and moral leadership. Our management of diversity stands as a beacon for the rest of the world. It is in realizing this dream for India at 75 that we would seek your guidance and direction. India is clearly a leader in many spaces, and the world recognizes that. But there are some challenges that need yet to be addressed. These include, 1, divides and disparities that remain in the country, regional and societal. 2, our human development indicators continue to be a source of major concern and are constant reminders of the disadvantages that some of the country live in. 3, gender equality has not been our strength, and a huge amount of work still needs to be done in the area of women's empowerment. 4, we have the potential to be the knowledge economy of the world, and yet we are languishing in our ability to extend quality education at all levels to the young population of this country. 5, if we are able to skill the huge young population that we have, we would be able to reap the benefits of the demographic dividend. So these are some areas where our challenges need sagacious and erudite interventions, the kind of interventions that can come from your office and position. Industry has a vital role to play in this aspiration. Industry has in recent years intensified its activities with respect to the community and society at large. We have instituted partnerships with civil society that focus industry efforts in issues such as health, education, gender empowerment, and the environment. Sir, we believe that your guidance and leadership, industry can deepen its constructive and progressive engagement in the national aspiration of inclusive growth. We look forward to sharing ideas with you on these issues. Due to your proactive stance and stimulus interventions, the Indian economy could effectively weather the global economic crisis and recover within a short period of time from the 2008 situation. For the 2 years following the crisis, India could grow at a high pace of 8.4%, regaining its path to inclusive development. This is a time when our economy is in difficulty. Domestic and foreign perceptions and sentiments about India are not as good as they could be. Unless there's growth, equity cannot be created in a meaningful manner. The people of this country need guidance, and once again, we shall look to your office to give that direction. As you commence your new role as the first citizen of the country, we take this opportunity to thank you for championing the cause of the people and every stakeholder in the economic rubric of the country. We wish you all success and reiterate our desire to work closely with you in the future. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Godrej. Honorable President, sir, Mr. Godrej mentioned that at this session, we have members from every state of the country. While we would have loved to, but the time would not permit us that at least one person from each state to speak here. Therefore, we have designed this program in such a manner that one person from each of the regions could say a few words about the Honorable President and to him. Mr. Adi Godrej, who is the President of CII, also comes from the West, and therefore, may I now turn to the Northeast, and I would request Ms. Rosello Mero to come up. Rosello is the National Co-Chair of Youth Affairs Vertical of CII's Young Indians and the immediate past Chair of CII's Kohima Chapter. Ms. Mero represents the youth and the Northeast of India at this program today. So as Mr. Godrej mentioned, Young Indians is an initiative of CII which has been facilitating the engagement of youth in nation building for at least the last 1 decade. The organization is already more than 10,000 strong, including farmers, students, young professionals spread across 24 cities of the country. And today we have here at least about 100 young Indians present in this gathering. May I request Ms. Rosello Mero to speak.
Your Excellency, Sri Pranab Mukherjee, the Honorable President of India, ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to offer felicitations to Honorable Pranab Da, first citizen of India. Coming from the Northeast, it is an honor to bring you greetings from this beautiful region, which unfortunately, a lot of people in our own country don't often have a chance to visit. And bearing that in mind, I'd like to invite our Honorable President to visit us during your term as President of India. I am here on behalf of Young Indians, which is an integral part of CII, to engage with the youth of our country in leadership and nation-building activities and initiatives. We are proud to inform you that this is the 10th year of our existence, and we will be launching the 25th chapter of YI in Bhopal tomorrow. Sir, it is noteworthy that an eminent personality of your stature and vast experience has assumed the exalted office of the President of India. The Constitution of India is founded on the principles of equity and freedom, and through the years, it has been nurtured and sustained, and we believe that we, the young people of India, will get a chance to continue that as well. Sir, in your earlier speeches, you have articulated your faith in the new India that is going to be led by the coming generations, and we are indeed proud that you have reposed such confidence in us. The energetic and dynamic young people of India who have a great vision, and I suppose we're very idealistic in certain terms as well. We hope to transform India's society, economy, politics, and culture in the coming years, not just in the country, but around the world as well. So I wish to mention here proudly of two prominent points that have been achievements of youth from our region, in the country. We have produced and continue to produce world-class athletes and sportsmen and women under various categories. Some of the accomplishments are as recent as the Summer Olympics in London. The other thing is, of course, the culture of the Northeast region is as valuable as the country, as the culture in the other parts of the country itself. But our unique culture is something that we are truly, truly proud of. And many of our young people have been very invaluable in promoting this great culture that we have, which in a melting pot like India, we are very proud to represent as well. So I wish to have this opportunity of interacting with yourself on seeking your thoughts on 2 points. I am sure these points will be close to your heart as well. What are your thoughts on creating more young entrepreneurs from our region to help themselves and the nation at large? What would your advice be to us? As a young entrepreneur from the region myself, I personally feel that there is a lot of potential for more people to become entrepreneurs from the Northeast, especially judging the Look East policy that the government has been focusing so much. We really ardently hope that when you pick agencies who will be, your office will help the government in picking the right type of agencies who will include young entrepreneurs, first-generation entrepreneurs in most cases, to become a part of the Northeast development as well. We only need infrastructure development, and we will do the rest. That we can assure you. Apart from entrepreneurship, we seek your advice, support, and encouragement on how we can engage the youth from Northeast in nation building. Something sad that happened recently, in the recent events that happened, bearing that in mind, a special request, which I hope your office will be able to help, is to create a better integration among the youth of the country with the rest of the Northeast, and that in order to have a better understanding of each other, I'm hoping that the rest of India, as we call in the Northeast, mainland India, will get a chance to actually study us as well. We have, over the past decades, been studying about the mainland, its history, everything about it. But we come to realize that our counterparts do not get a chance to study us at all. The little that they get is often misrepresented information, and we hope that you will include the Northeast studies into the school syllabus so that we have a better integration and we have young people understanding us better as well, and we build a bigger and better future. We hope that you will help us, advise us, and be a mentor to our region, especially for you coming from a region which is the doorway to the northeast of India. We hope, really hope, that you will come and participate in a bigger platform with us in the Northeast as well. We believe that given your passion for knowledge and intellectual insights, you will be the best person to guide and inspire the youth of the country. Thank you, sir, for giving us this opportunity to engage with you. May I once again offer our warmest felicitations and wish you all success.
Thank you, Rosella. From the Northeast, we come to the North, and may I invite Mr. Dhruv Soni to speak on behalf of the North. Mr. Dhruv Soni was the president of CII during the year 1991-92, the year associated with India's economic liberalization. These were hectic times, and Mr. Soni and CII had the opportunity to have your guidance and direction in those years. Mr. Soni.
Thank you. Honorable Sri Pranab Mukherjee, President of India, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to add my personal felicitations to you, sir, for taking on this high office. You have promoted globalization and liberalization and have been a great supporter of CII. In trying to prepare for this great privilege, thought of how to approach this, and I really want to share with our audience here 2 personal episodes from CII. From my time as 91, 92, I was president 91, 92, that's enough gray hair here. And many of our past presidents who are here weren't there. This was the time when CII was called the Confederation of Engineering Industry. And to give you an idea of what a great globalizer, Torun Das was my companion. Both of us went to see you. And you at that time said, why are you not global? Why are you not taking on all industry? Why are you concentrating on engineering? This was one of the great stimulus for us to actually change our whole basis and move from a confederation of engineering industry to the Confederation of Indian Industry. And we must give you a great thanks on that, sir. The second episode, which I'm not sure how many of you are aware, at the time of 91-92, there are two movers in our liberalization program that I've talked about, which is the late Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, and then Finance Minister and current Prime Minister Shri Manmohan Singh. But the third was our now President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, who was Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission. And I remember again with Torun coming to see you. I had just taken over as President, and we in CEI had prepared an economic manifesto of what we wanted. One of the points in that manifesto was to increase the MRTP from 20 crores to 100 crores. You know, we didn't believe that such liberalization of abolishment of MRTP could happen. And I never forget that meeting. You said, "Aur chalao, ye bas." So your feeling of where, that was an epic point in CII's history. And your long association with us goes back further. But I think today we are at a critical stage of our economic development. You know, I won't take much time because I can go and there are colleagues to follow me. I just want to pick up two other avatars of yours. One was in the Commerce Ministry, where again we were in a critical stage of the rationalization of tariffs. If we had reduced them too fast, our Indian manufacturing industry would have had a problem. If we kept them at very high levels, we would not have competition and entrepreneurship. That was a very keen balancing act at your time as Commerce Minister. And I think we really need to give a lot of credit for those times when you were able to balance the two forces of competition and non-competition, one of the so-called Bombay Club at that time. As Minister for External Affairs, I think you brought a new paradigm to the economic benefits of political relationships, and particularly with our neighbors. That is another key element which we need to go on. We have Mercosur, we have Southeast Asian, ASEAN, but you were very much for having all our neighbors come into a holistic political and economic relationship. Now, sir, as President, you have the complete platform in front of you. Not only is it inclusive growth in India, a diversification of our base with increased investments, with goods, technology. You, sir, in this high office can take us to new heights. Your visits and support, which we are there for, and the whole of India is there for, are looking to you to also help us at another critical juncture. In the past, we've always felt that through any interaction, we came away feeling happier. I'm sure this packed audience today will feel the same today. Our warmest felicitations, Rashtrapati Ji, once again, for a memorable term as President of our great country. Thank you.
From north, we'll go down south, and we have here Mr. Vikram Kirloskar to speak. Mr. Kirloskar is the chairman of CII's Global Innovation and Technology Alliance GITA board, an initiative of the Technology Development Board and CII. Mr. Kirloskar is based out of Bangalore and is recognized as one of the prominent business leaders from South India.
Thank you. Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee, President of India, ladies and gentlemen. It's a moment of celebration for us to interact with Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee and felicitate him on assuming the highest office in the country. Sir, it is all the more important for CII and industry to have this unique opportunity, as you have been a very close friend and proponent of Indian industry throughout your outstanding career in public service of 4 decades. As I represent the southern part of the country on the current occasion, let me additionally bring you greetings and felicitations from members of industry in the South. The economy in the South have benefited particularly from the policies of openness and global integration that you have instituted. Today, South India is a vibrant and attractive investment destination and is a leading growth engine for the nation's economy. In fact, sir, you have served in many capacities of direct interest for the economy and industry, commencing your ministerial career as Deputy Minister for Industrial Development. From then on, you have constantly advocated on behalf of Indian industry in your different roles. Sir, Indian industry has greatly benefited from your intellectual depth and sagacity. In a country of many contradictions, your quick understanding of complex issues has been indispensable to forging a clear path ahead. The stimulus offered to industry at the time of the financial crisis, including reducing excise duties and propping up of liquidity, particularly helped boost the sentiments of entrepreneurs during those difficult days. Industry could respond with elasticity to its utmost order in order to quickly recover to an 8% plus GDP growth for 2 years. So the challenge today is to reignite entrepreneurial spirits and investor confidence to make industry the leading growth driver. A strong and dynamic industry sector that is socially committed and environmentally responsible will be the core of India of the future. Your intervention would be central to building cohesion and consensus for future policy making in this regard. Going forward, I have no doubt that through your high office, you would continue to guide and encourage the engines of the economy and would lay out definite themes for our future. In a rapidly changing world, it is all the more crucial for industry leaders to have the benefit of ideas from a person who is known for his far-sighted vision and solution-oriented managerial style. So we look forward to your continued guidance and direction. Sir, we felicitate you on your new high office and hope you would continue to engage with us during your term as you have always done. Thank you.
From the south, we move to east, and from the eastern region of India, we have Mr. Sanjeev Goenka, who is from Kolkata. Mr. Goenka was the CII's president in the year 2001-2002. Mr. Goenka has had the privilege of working with you, sir, on many occasions. Mr. Goenka.
Mananiya Rashtrapati Ji, ladies and gentlemen, পশ্চিমবঙ্গ থেকে একটি লোক ভারতের রাষ্ট্রপতি আমরা খুবই খুশি নিশ্চয়ই আপনি ভারতবর্ষের রাষ্ট্রপতি কিন্তু আমরা ভাবি আপনি আমাদের লোক আপনি পশ্চিমবঙ্গের রাষ্ট্রপতি Yes, you are India's president, but all of us from West Bengal think you are our president. And coming from Bengal as I do, it is a special privilege, a special honor to have the opportunity to felicitate one of Bengal's greatest sons. I know from my own experience that the Honorable President is always warm, patient, gracious, committed, and he makes every person meeting him feel special. I used to accompany my father when I was 21 years old. And each time I left his home, I felt that I was the most special person. His leadership has been evident in every innings that he has played. It was to him that the government turned to arrest deterioration and bring the economy on a path of growth and stability. It was to him that the government turned for handling sticky coalition issues. It was to him that the government turned whenever there was a crisis. And at each call, he stood tall, deftly steering the nation through the complexities with prudent measures. Your steps, sir, for the weaker sections of society, health, education, have helped millions of our fellow citizens to a better life, a life of prosperity, a life of progress. You are, sir, a great son of India, a great thought leader, a great action leader, an inspiration for every Bengali, an inspiration for every Indian. Very humbly, our best wishes, sir.
Sir, over the last 3 decades and more, we have had the privilege to have your guidance and direction in work and initiatives as you have held different portfolios in the government. For CII, this has been an honor, and in the following short film that we have, we capture the spirit of that relationship.
The Confederation of Indian Industry felicitates Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee on assuming the highest office of the land. A luminary of visionary leadership, Shri Mukherjee has earned wide respect for his deep intellect, acumen and sagacity, which have guided the nation for over 40 years. In particular, Shri Mukherjee has brought a formidable and profound understanding to issues pertaining to national development. He converged multiple interests and helped to create consensus on major issues confronting the Indian economy. As finance minister, during the worst global economic crisis in modern times, he presided over managing the fallout and restoring growth fundamentals in India. During this time, he continued to engage intensely with industry and addressed emergent concerns. Through his timely and enlightened efforts, the economy grew at an impressive pace after the crisis. Shri Mukherjee has been a passionate and ardent votary of Indian industry throughout his long and outstanding career in public service. He strongly believes in the potential of entrepreneurship, constantly striving for supportive policy architecture to unshackle industry spirits. His confidence in Indian industry has helped it earn high respect and accolades in the global economic arena.
I would like to compliment CII for its continuous contribution in building up a rapport between government and industry.
Across all domains of human development, as well as in manufacturing, services, infrastructure and agriculture, Shri Mukherjee's ideas and innovation have left a strong imprint that will resonate in years to come. In a complex and changing world, Shri Mukherjee forged a new path to inspire and lead by example. He has always been a warm friend, inspiring mentor and thoughtful guide for industry.
Confederation of Indian Industry has indeed been a positive, worthy partner to government of trade in its efforts to promote development and growth in the country. You are the true ambassadors of a new India.
India has greatly benefited from the intellectual depth and astute vision he brought to the national endeavor of inclusive growth and development.
I, Pranab Mukherjee, do swear in the name of God that I will faithfully execute the office of President of India and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law, and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of India.
The Confederation of Indian Industry salutes this distinguished son of India, Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee, the President of India.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard from 4 different leaders representing their parts of the country about the Honorable President of India. And now it is my honor to invite Shri Pranab Mukherjee to deliver his presidential address.
Good evening. Sri Adi Godrej, President, Confederation of Indian Industry. Sri Ajay Sriram, Vice President, Confederation of Indian Industry. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industries. Distinguished members, office bearers, past presidents of CII, captains of industry coming from almost every part of the country. At the very beginning, I would like to express my deep gratitude to all of you, and if in one word I am asked to express my sentiments at this wonderful evening function and in presence of such a distinguished audience, I would simply say, I am overwhelmed. I know my relationship with this great organization, and particularly more intimate relationship from the days Indian economic reforms, which is popularly known as liberalization of Indian economy since 1991. When I look around the faces around this hall, I find many of the faces which represent sometimes the second generation, the third generation with which I had the privilege of working over all these years. Of course, it has the other side of the picture that perhaps I have become an antique piece in the and almost a permanent fixture in the theatre of Indian economic activities. At the same time, my experiences over the 4 decades being actively engaged in Indian politics, having the opportunity of looking at the transformation of this great country through different phases, from extremely controlled regime to the gradual relaxations and thereafter to the liberalization. I also had the privilege of watching the extreme difficult situations in different phases of our economic development. High rate of inflation, slow growth, high current account deficit, high fiscal deficit, very high almost extracting rate of taxations, and how Indian economy, Indian system has responded to those problems, and ultimately we have been able to overcome those problems not by external aid, but through our own efforts and own efforts collectively together. Indian entrepreneurs, Indian policymakers, Indian workers, Indian farmers,
and over and above the new dynamic younger generation. That's why even in my last speech in a debate in Lok Sabha, I did not know at that point of time, it was middle of May, I did not contemplate that a day will come when perhaps that speech will be considered as the last or one of the last speech in Lok Sabha, because I will be debarred from entering into that premises except the central hall while addressing the joint session of Parliament. But I reminded my colleagues in the Parliament that you may call me incorrigible optimist. Yes, we are in difficult situation. We are in the low growth syndrome. Rate of inflation is high. Current account deficit is a matter of grave concern. Along with that, huge fiscal deficit pose very serious challenges to the policymakers and administrators. But I do not lose heart, because when I look at the young men and women with optimism, carrying no baggage, with the indomitable spirit, and with the objective, whole world belongs to us. We are nothing to be scared. Yes, we can conquer, we will overcome all the difficulties. Only the older generation, those who we are still occupying the space, perhaps some of us should vacate the space for the younger people to ensure that they can give much more. So far CII is concerned, as I mentioned to you, my memories and association with CII is very long. I remember sometimes it has happened. I do not know exactly, I do not remember right now exactly in which year. But I was coming from abroad and my plane was little late. Dr. Torun Das was then DG. He, being little impatient, thought what would happen, went straight to the airport to bring me. And straight from airport I came and I could address and have interaction with, I think it was an annual function of CII or things like that. And I do not know whether Mr. Bhargava was the president, perhaps he was in that particular year. And I want to point out that I always considered, valued the contribution of this organization and its positive approach towards India's development story. That instilled confidence in me, and my own optimism was rekindled. Many initiatives you have taken. I am fully aware of it. Particularly I would like to mention and I would like to comment the green initiative which you have taken, and the number of, I think 1.20 billion square feet of green buildings have been constructed so far under the aegis of CII. And here comes the initiatives, imaginative approach of CII. I remember I was not then in the office,
process of globalization began in the 80s. It was perhaps in late 90s. I addressed one of your sessions. You had the rich tradition of inviting not merely the officials who interact with the leaders of the industry and commerce under your organizations, but also the leaders of various political parties, leaders of various political outfits who are in opposition. In one such interaction, I was highly impressed by a study conducted by a research group of CII, how the globalization had adverse impact. A well-developed study in 40 least developed countries, how their GDP came down, how their balance of payment crisis accentuated, how their international debt multiplied since the beginning of globalization, process of globalization in 80s. I think perhaps it was a period of 85 to 95. And then the conclusions, what lessons we can draw from those developments. And I'm happy to share, we have drawn the correct lessons, and subsequently the previous government which were immediately before us, and thereafter when we came, we followed the corrective courses and we did not fall in the pitfalls which were noticed in that process of globalization. Yes, I am fully aware when I am addressing you in a different capacity, where I have one advantage and one great disadvantage. Advantage is I can speak freely in the form of advice. But disadvantage is I cannot implement what I speak and what I believe should be done. Because my office, Indian Constitution, very correctly pointed out, and as I am born optimist about the progress and development of Indian economy, I am equally an ardent supporter of the transformation mechanism, socio-political economic transformation mechanism laid down by Indian Constitution. I am afraid I have shared this story with you, but I cannot prevent the temptation of repeating it, or rather telling it even at the risk of repetition to some of you. How people's perceptions were changed about the contribution of Indian Constitution. In the drafting stage in the late 40s and early 50s, practically late 40s, because it was, drafting job was completed in November 1949. It was implemented on 26 January 1950. One of the outstanding British politicians was highly critical, a personal friend of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who used to write to him and told him that your experiments with Indian people to implement this new document is highly optimistic, but perhaps you will not be able to implement it because of the inherent weakness of Indian system, its poverty, backwardness, illiteracy, and moreover, its conservatism. After a decade, the same gentleman wrote to Nehru
both of them were alive at that time, that I congratulate you. And I revise my opinion. The experiences which we have gathered, implementation of the Indian Constitution in the last decade, clearly demonstrate that perhaps it is a great Magna Carta of socio-economic transformation to a vast multitude of people through complete, peaceful, democratic means. Therefore, I do believe that Indian economy, our system, and everybody admits today that it is the largest functional democracy, though occasionally the democracy becomes a little bit too noisy, but nonetheless we can cope with it because the end product of the system is sustainable. I had the privilege of sharing some of my experiences with Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industry just a couple of days back. What I told them, here I would like to repeat. You are doing that job, but still I would also like to emphasize it, that there is a need of instilling confidence in our entrepreneurs, in our investors, in our leaders in the industry and business, because somehow or other we find sometimes negative aspects of the issues appear more prominently than positive aspect. For instance, when we talk of environmental protection, we only project the negative stories, but the figure which I have just quoted, that silently at the initiative of CII, how the green technology, green movement is taking shape and expanding itself. There are many examples. Yes, our growth rate has been slow, particularly since the global financial crisis 2008-9, it was 6.7%. 2011-12, it has recorded 6.5%. The first quarter of 2012-13 is 5.5%. No doubt disappointing. Yes, current account deficit around 4% is surely a matter of concern. Fiscal deficit, if it is not confined to 5.1% of the GDP as projected in the budget, and one of the concomitant of which that we must reduce the subsidies and keep it below 2% of GDP is not materialized, would pose serious problems. Our slowdown of export from the previous year's record of 30% growth is no doubt an area of concern. But side by side, if we look at the process of diversification of the export basket commodities and direction, geographical direction of the export destination, we will find that the picture is not totally disappointing. If we take a little longer, larger canvas, little longer period of time of projecting the performance of the country, we will find that is not to be disappointed to the extent sometimes I find through our own responses. As I mentioned to you, I always refer the other
period of crisis, not to find any justification for the present crisis, but only to drive consolation and get back confidence that if we have overcome those problems in past, it is possible for us to overcome the problems which we are facing today, and we can move ahead for future. Coming to the stories of the growth, most respectfully I can say, when did we have very high rate of growth? Since the beginning of our developmental exercise from 1951 to 1979, almost 3 decades, we had an annual average growth of 3.5%. In the decade of 80s, we had 5.2%. In the decade of 90s, we had a GDP growth of 6%. After 91, we entered into 6.6 to 6.7%. And in the last decade, our GDP growth has been 2003-04 to 2011-12. It is around 8.75% annual average. Of this 10-year period, if you look at 3 years, yes, we had 9% growth. 2 years, we had 6% plus. 2008-09 financial crisis year. Again, we had some round turnaround in 2010-11, 11-12, 8.4%, and 11-12 with the Eurozone crisis and volatility of the international commodity prices, including oil, we had slow growth of 6.5%. But in a space of 10-year period, our annual average growth of 8.75% compared to many other countries, we did not feel totally discouraged or disappointed. And it is not because of the policy matters. It is not because of the contribution of the administrators and policymakers. It is the contribution of the Indian people, Indian entrepreneurs, our workers, our managers, our farmers, our forward-looking trade and business leaders. Collectively, we have been able to contribute. I am emphasizing on collectively, on togetherness. If we work together, if we collectively make efforts to overcome our difficulties, none can restrain, and CII can do that, provide that leadership, provide the guidance to all stakeholders. The last point to my young friend representing the Northeast, I would like to take this opportunity of congratulating the young men and women of the Northeast who are not only coming out in large number and proving their talents, competence, and showing their excellence in different branches, starting from civil service to the leadership of the industries, management, entrepreneurial skill, and last but not the least, one Mary Kom can make us really proud of the performance of the young men and women of the Northeast. I do not know whether you watched, but whole India was one for the success of Mary Kom, and 3-4 days we waited for bating breath that we must see one medal was assured, but whether she can bring gold for us or not, that was the deep concern for all of us. And whole India had one expectation, had one desire, and that is the story
of emerging India, resurgent India, and I am quite confident we will see this emerging resurgent India in our lifetime. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, if I have exceeded my brief little bit. Thank you.
Honorable Shri Pranab Mukherjee, President of India, my colleagues from Indian industry, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir, for a very inspiring address to us and for sharing your views on the role of industry in nation building. In your speech, you have highlighted the challenges regarding inclusive and sustainable growth and the solutions that Indian industry must evolve and inculcate. Sir, we want to thank you for your kind words about CII, and we want to assure you that CII will always work with you and seek your guidance as to how to improve development and economic growth in India at every level of the country. Your approach has always been consultative, taking into account multiple perspectives and converging diverse views before articulating a stance that meets the aspirations for all concerned. This approach exhibits your deep connection and strong empathy towards all sections of society. Indeed, it defines your proactive persona that has taken on any task, challenging though it may be. Today, we have taken the liberty of mentioning a few aspirations in the national vision of India, and we hope that you would encourage this during your presidency. This includes, first and foremost, the aspiration of a social security framework that can support the poorest of the poor in the times of trouble. A key factor to achieve this aspiration will be the second challenge that confronts us today, which is to revive investor confidence and boost growth dynamics of the country. It would also be critical to enhance India's role in the global economy through trade, investments, and services. This would strengthen India's national security aspirations in a world that is in flux. Fourth, knowledge empowerment is a high priority on our national agenda, especially for the youth. And sir, last but not least, a big challenge is generating employment for the approximately 10 million people coming into the job market every year. We feel the time has come, sir, for us to put employment generation at the center of policy making. In all these aspirations, your engagement would transform the paradigm. May I once again extend our deep appreciation to you for the constant guidance and support that you have imparted to Indian industry. As you commence the next phase of your stellar career, all of us would like to wish you continued achievements and success. Let me once again reiterate that CII would continue to work with you in your new role as the first citizen of the nation. On behalf of all of us present here, I convey our deepest appreciation to you for your presence and your gracious words. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Shri Pranab Mukherjee with acclamation. Thank you.